I paid $18,000 to renovate Grandma's kitchen, then flew from Tokyo to surprise her at the barbecue I funded. At the gate, my brother smirked. "You're not on the list, little man. This is for family." They still used my baby nickname. I smiled, said enjoy the ribs, and left. At midnight, I temporarily suspended their joint access and adjusted the thermostat to cool. By 4 a.m., the group chat lit up, 61 missed calls, and a video. I landed in Seattle late Friday afternoon, straight from Tokyo, suitcase still warm from the Narita tarmac. I hadn't told anyone I was coming back early. I wanted it to be a surprise. I'd spent the last 6 months wiring payments, tracking tile deliveries, reviewing kitchen blueprints at 2 a.m. Tokyo time. Grandma's kitchen was my project, my gift. She loved to cook, and the old counters were swollen with water damage. I paid $18,000 out of pocket. No reimbursement, no split, just gratitude. The barbecue was set for Saturday. Family gathering, my aunt called it. I even covered the catering, ribs, brisket, the works. I imagined Grandma seeing the new cabinets, her kitchen humming with guests, and me, the surprise finale. When I arrived at the gate, my brother was stationed like a bouncer. Hawaiian shirt, sunglasses, holding a guest list. For a backyard barbecue. He looked at me, didn't even flinch. "You're not on the list, little man. This is for family." The words weren't a joke. He even smirked. Little man. My childhood nickname. Still, I looked past him, saw the tables, the decorations, the new kitchen lights glowing through the window. They were using everything I paid for. I smiled, stepped back, and said, enjoy the ribs. Then I left. No confrontation. No raised voice. Just one pivot, and the gate swinging shut behind me. I got into my rental car, air still hot from the sun, and drove without music, just the sound of my breathing syncing with the rising static in my chest. I didn't feel rage. Not yet. Just that familiar cold click in the back of my head. They didn't want me there. Not really. My presence wasn't factored in. My contribution was. It wasn't the insult. It was the ease with which it happened. No hesitation. No apology. It wasn't even that they said no. It was how natural it felt for them to exclude me. That's what stayed with me as I pulled into the hotel parking lot and sat in the car long after the engine shut off. I wasn't shocked. I'd seen it before. The jokes, the diminishing smiles, the way they kept calling me little man, no matter how much I grew, how far I flew, how much I gave. This time, I didn't knock on the door. I didn't wait to be asked in. At midnight, I logged into the home system, suspended their joint access, adjusted the thermostat to cool, just enough to sting. No message, no explanation. By 4 a.m., the group chat lit up, 61 missed calls, and one video. The video was shaky, lit by a phone flashlight and panic. My cousin's voice cracked. Why is it freezing? Who changed the settings? Who has admin? The clip cut out. I watched it twice, then muted the thread and set the phone down. But I couldn't sleep. Not because I was upset, that ship had sunk at the gate, but because I started thinking, connecting. This wasn't random. This wasn't a slip. This was pattern. Because that same tone, that same dismissal, I'd heard it before. Not just from my brother at the gate, but years ago, when I paid the deposit for Mom's dental surgery and she told the nurse to thank the family. Or when I flew home for Dad's birthday, 3 flights and a missed work deadline, only to find out they'd had the dinner 2 days earlier. "We thought you weren't coming," they said. I showed them the confirmation email. They shrugged. That time I funded the Christmas dinner, the whole thing, even the tree. Then sat at the kids' table. "We didn't think you'd mind," my aunt had said, handing me a paper plate. And now? Now I paid $18,000 for a kitchen they used to feed guests at a party I wasn't allowed to enter. A party catered with my money. And the cherry on top? Little man. A title they clung to because they refused to see who I'd become. I started scrolling through old messages. I wasn't looking for comfort. I was collecting evidence. Not for court. For clarity. Photos I'd taken of flight receipts. Payment confirmations for the new flooring in Grandma's hallway. Screenshots of recurring transfers. Like the $250 monthly I'd been sending my sister since her car accident in 2021. She never replaced the car. But the Sephora bags kept showing up in her stories. It was all there. Every silent favor. Every erased credit. Every masked exclusion. I remembered Mom's voice on that one call. "You've always been so helpful." The tone was sterile, surgical, like she was praising a really good vacuum cleaner. And it hit me. I wasn't family. I was function. I wasn't a guest. I was infrastructure. They used what I built, what I paid for, what I maintained, but kept me in the utility closet. Out of frame. Behind the scenes. Not seen. Not credited. And the most violent part? They didn't even flinch. It wasn't a betrayal to them. It was maintenance. Because they had trained me to fund. To smile. To say, no problem. Even when the problem was carved into my name and bank account. So I made a list. Not of revenge. Of realignment. I pulled up the shared Wi-Fi credentials, still under my Tokyo email. I checked the Amazon household account. 6 linked users, only one of them mine. The others? Streaming, orders, even Kindle access. All silent leeches. Then the Venmo history. Dozens of transfers. Thanks, little bro, you're the best, can't make rent. Digital breadcrumbs of dependency dressed up as affection. That was the moment the strategy locked in. I was done being the silent sponsor. Done subsidizing a system that ran on my erasure. It wasn't about being invited. It was about being visible, respected. I stared at the ceiling of the hotel room, a silent fire growing behind my ribs. They didn't push me out. They revealed what they'd been doing all along. Using me, reducing me. And now? Now I'd finally seen the blueprint. And the next step wasn't noise. It was calculation. I didn't sleep. Not from stress. From momentum. By dawn, I had 2 laptops open, for browser tabs running, and a playlist of ambient thunder rolling low in the background. This wasn't revenge. This was closure, but with receipts. First, I logged into the smart home system I installed 3 years ago. Grandma's new kitchen had an integrated digital hub, lights, AC, security camera access, even the new stovetop. All tied to my business account, which I'd registered for the appliance discount. I suspended the user permissions. All of them. Grandma would still have power, but no control from their phones. No app access. No weekend guests turning on the fireplace remotely for ambience. Let them adjust it manually. Let them remember what it feels like to ask for heat. Next, I went after the barbecue payments. I hadn't just paid for the catering. I'd booked the entire food truck. Ribs, brisket, pulled pork, coleslaw trays, soft drink cooler, 2 servers. I'd even added a vegan option because my cousin switched diets mid-year. I called the caterer, asked for the final invoice, which I had already paid in full, and requested a retroactive service adjustment. There was an issue with access, I said. Can we label it as partial service and request a refund? The guy was understanding. We agreed on a 40% reimbursement processed directly to the original card. Mine. Then the utilities. The house's internet and smart TV packages were bundled under a promo I'd secured. My brother couldn't get credit approval back then, so I added it under my name and told him to just send me half each month. That lasted 3 payments. I opened the provider dashboard, canceled automatic billing, changed the password, unlinked every secondary device, left one TV running on the default input, that dreadful blue screen that says no signal in white letters. Let them stare at that. Then the family streaming platforms. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Spotify Premium, Disney Plus. 5 accounts. All mine. I changed the passwords and wrote a single message across each profile name. You said I wasn't family. Let them watch that instead of their favorite shows. I wasn't done. I opened the joint checking account I'd set up 3 years ago just in case someone needed help fast. Medical bill, sudden job loss, whatever. My name was the primary. My balance had been the only thing propping it up. I emptied it. Then I closed the account. Permanently. After that, I turned to the rental property in Oregon. 3 years ago, Dad asked if I wanted to go in together on something to help Grandma retire. I paid the down payment. I paid the inspections. I even flew in twice to check on the roof repairs. It never ended up being used for Grandma. My cousin moved in. Never paid rent. I pulled the deed. Still in my name. I called the realtor. I'd like to list this property. She asked if my family knew. They will soon, I said. The listing went live that afternoon. But the part that broke the system? That came next. The group chat was still silent. Probably frozen in a mix of confusion and pride. They still thought I'd gotten my feelings hurt. So I logged into the bank accounts. Specifically, the one my sister had access to. The same account she'd used last month to transfer $400 to herself for vet bills. Her cat's been dead since 2022. I revoked her access. Then checked the transaction logs. She had automated transfers scheduled for the next 3 months. Cancelled. I left one final message in her banking app notes section. You said I can't handle being excluded. Watch me exclude myself. And then, I took full control of all assets I managed. I accessed the cloud dashboard for our shared password manager, the one I had created when I set up their devices years ago. One by one, I removed them. Dad's email backup? Gone. Mom's tax return vault? Gone. My brother's encrypted note titled Crypto Passwords? Also gone. And then, just for good measure, I ran the audit log and exported it. Everything they'd accessed using my credentials in the past 2 years. Guess what I found? Streaming logins shared with coworkers. My business account used to rent a car. An Amazon wish list full of items delivered to addresses I didn't recognize. I took screenshots, backed them up, then emailed everything to myself and stored it on a hard drive labeled, "When they deny it all." And then I sat back. It was done. The system I built, the invisible scaffolding holding up their everyday comforts, had been quietly dismantled. Not a single scream, not a single insult, just deletions, password changes, account closures, unlinks. They wouldn't feel it all at once. It would come in waves. TV not loading, smart lock glitching. Why is the Wi-Fi out? Why are my bank transfers failing? Why can't I log into Disney Plus? And when they'd finally piece it together, when the group chat would wake up again in a flood of fingers pointing at me, they'd come armed with accusations, demands, maybe even threats. But they wouldn't get a reply, because I wasn't here to make noise. I was here to pull the plug. I didn't walk out of that barbecue because I was hurt. I walked out because it was the last time I'd ever pay for a table I wasn't allowed to sit at. By 3:08 a.m., the family group chat exploded like a house fire. It began with a single message from my mother. "What did you do?" Then the feed went nuclear. Screenshots of login errors, banking alerts, frozen Venmo accounts. Someone even posted a photo of the thermostat flashing admin access revoked. By 3:15, my phone was vibrating nonstop. 12 missed calls, mostly from blocked numbers. I sipped coffee in the dark and watched it all unfold like a director at the final screening of a film only I understood. At 3:22, my brother sent this. "Are you serious? You think this makes you powerful? Then, you've always been jealous." My cousin chimed in. "You're acting mentally unwell. Get help." My sister, of course, made it about her. "Michelle's crying. You broke her. Hope you're happy." I didn't reply. By 3:30, my father called from 3 different numbers. One voicemail made it through. I didn't listen to it, just saved it to a folder called Aftermath. By 4 a.m., the chat turned operatic. Voice notes came in. Dramatic sighs. Cracking voices. My mother said I had humiliated the family. My aunt used the phrase, "public betrayal." My uncle asked who does something this cruel to their own blood. Cruel? I had let them feast for years on my silence, my credit, my labor. Now I turned off the lights, and they panicked as if I'd triggered a disaster. Then came the guilt grenades. My mom, for 11 a.m. Grandma couldn't sleep. She says the house feels cold. You did that. To an old woman. I left the heating accessible manually. They just didn't know how to function without the app. By 5 a.m., I turned my phone off. Not from fatigue, from indifference. When I turned it on again at 10:37, I had 61 missed calls. A few were from unknown numbers. One from my workplace. They were already dragging this into my professional life. The last one, though, was from a name I hadn't seen in a while, Lucas. My cousin. Estranged. Quiet. The only one who once sent me a message when I graduated. The voicemail was short. They were reframing the narrative. "You might want to check Grandma's records. I found something." Curious, I called back. He answered in one ring. "I found her old will," he said. "The original one. You were the executor. The house was yours. Kitchen too." My breath caught. "I thought they filed that," I said. "They didn't," he replied. "They hid it." Lucas wasn't lying. He sent me photos, high-res scans of the document, signed, notarized, dated 2 years prior. Before Grandma's minor stroke. Before they took over her mail. And there it was, in clean, unshakable ink. Executor, my name. Sole beneficiary of estate assets tied to 220 Wilkins Road. The house. The yard. The kitchen. The barbecue. All of it. Mine. And they knew. They knew when they locked me out of the event. They knew when they mocked me at the gate. They weren't just excluding me from a party. They were staging a silent coup. I called my lawyer. The email we drafted was not a plea. It was a notice of legal intent. Unauthorized event. Unauthorized usage of a privately funded renovation. Attempted forgery of estate documents. Pending investigation. By noon, it was sent to each family member listed in the barbecue organizer doc. Yes, I had the doc. I paid for the Dropbox. At 12:46 p.m., my mother called. I answered. First time since the fallout. She didn't waste time. You are destroying us, she said. This is what you wanted, right? To be the center? To play God? No, I said quietly. I just wanted to stop being your infrastructure. She paused. That word landed. You were family. No, I said. I was function. She hung up. At 2 p.m., my aunt posted a sob story on Facebook, a photo of grandma under a blanket, captioned, "When your own turns cold and you still pray for them." Dozens of comments. Sympathy. Pity. Some distant cousin asked if grandma was dying. By 3:15, my sister sent a message, not to me, but to the group. Maybe we went too far. But he doesn't get to act like the victim. And that's when I decided to answer. Not with words. I posted the video. The one from 3:58 a.m. My brother, shirtless, laughing about freezing the freak out. The one they thought I didn't have. I uploaded it to the family chat. No caption. No preface. Just truth. Seen by 11 people in the first 60 seconds. Then came the deletions. Michelle left the chat. Angela changed the group photo from our old Thanksgiving pic to a black square. By 5 p.m., the lawyer received an email from their side. A vague request for reconciliation discussions. We declined. At 6:30 p.m., my dad showed up. Not at my apartment. At my office. I was in a meeting. Receptionist called me. There's someone here, she whispered. Says he's your father. I walked to the glass, looked down at the lobby. He looked small, deflated, like someone who no longer knew the rules of the game. I didn't go down. Just texted. Do not come to my workplace again. Communication is now legal only. He didn't reply. By 8 p.m., silence settled. No more pings. No more drama. I took a walk. Bought ice cream. Sat on a bench and thought about the day. They tried to paint me as crazy. Cold, cruel. All because I revoked access. Because I said no. But what they never understood, what they couldn't fathom, was that I had been holding the system together for years. Quietly. Invisibly. Without applause. And when I stopped, they didn't just fall. They unraveled. Not because I changed, but because they never built anything of their own. They thought I wouldn't do it. They thought my silence was shame. That my distance was surrender. That all I wanted was a seat at their table. They were wrong. What I wanted was truth. And now, I was going to give it to them. On my terms. At 8 a.m. sharp Monday morning, I contacted HR. No drama. No emotion. Just facts. Subject line, harassment outside workplace. Formal disclosure. Attached. The video of my brother mocking me at the gate, my sister calling me unstable, my uncle laughing that I'd never fight back. Timestamped screenshots from the group chat. Voicemails laced with emotional blackmail. The forged estate summary they try to circulate. Why HR? Because 3 of them, my brother, my cousin Angela, and Uncle Patrick, all worked at the same corporation where I had former partnerships. They used my name in vendor intros. They boasted about keeping the family together. They violated NDAs using my credentials. I presented it all. At 11:15 a.m., I got a reply. Thank you for your submission. We are escalating to compliance and internal legal. By noon, the call started again, but this time, not from them. Reporters. Lawyers. A former classmate who'd seen a leaked clip on Twitter. Because the moment I submitted to HR, I also posted. A single public thread on X. Headline. What happens when you stop being the family's ATM? A case study in conditional love. No names. No faces. Just facts. Screenshots with redacted identifiers. The group chat messages. The payment records. The will. The gate. The smirk. And the final moment. Me, alone at the airport, holding a wrapped gift for grandma while a message from my brother read. You're not on the list, little man. I ended it with one sentence. I paid. They excluded. So I left. But now I speak. It went viral in under 2 hours. People didn't just read it. They felt it. Comment after comment. I've lived this. Blood doesn't mean belonging. He gave everything. And they erased him. Influencers reposted it. Lawyers messaged me about defamation counters. A finance blogger DM'd me asking to turn it into a TED Talk. Even a Netflix producer, yes, really, left an email address. But I wasn't thinking about fame. I was thinking about power. Because while they spiraled, while my family texted mutual friends with excuses and carefully sanitized versions, the tide had turned. The silence I kept for years, now it screamed louder than anything they could fake. At 3 p.m., my sister finally broke on Instagram. A post, black and white photo, captioned, "Sometimes people rewrite history to feel like heroes. We still love him. Always did. But he changed." The comments were brutal. "You excluded him. You lied about the will. You never said his name. But we all know who the villain is." She deleted the post within the hour. At 4:15 p.m., I received an official legal notice. My brother was under internal review for misappropriation of digital property. Company assets linked to my account. At 6:40 p.m., my cousin Mara messaged, "You've made your point. Can we talk? Just you and me?" No, because I wasn't making a point. I was reclaiming my place in the story they tried to write me out of. No more whispers. No more corridors. No more gaslight reunions where I paid and smiled while being invisible. Now, the balance had shifted. I wasn't asking for a seat. I had taken back the ground. And they were free to scream into the void. Because for once, they were locked out. Not of a party, not of a system, but of me. It wasn't a message this time. It was a knock. I opened the door, slowly, calmly, and there she was. My mother, jacket clutched to her chest, breath visible in the cold. Behind her, in the car, my father, staring straight ahead. Engine running. "We just want to talk," she said. "Not scream. Not accuse. Not lie. Talk." I let her in. She sat, looked around, noticed the minimalist decor, noticed the silence, the complete lack of family photos. Her eyes fell on the shelf, a single frame, me and Grandma, holding hands in front of the kitchen I renovated. "So that's the one you framed," she said. I didn't answer. She began slow. "We were wrong. The way the barbecue was handled, it wasn't fair. We didn't mean to hurt you." I stayed silent. She tried again. "They told me you were unstable, that you'd snapped. But now, I realize you were just alone." Still, I said nothing. Because this wasn't about me being misunderstood. This was about them never asking. She reached into her purse, pulled out an envelope. "It's the revised will. Your name is back. We made sure. Grandma approved it. We just want peace now." I didn't take it, because it should have never been removed. She softened. Tears welled. "You're my son," she said. "I don't want to lose you." I looked at her, really looked, and I said it. "You didn't lose me now. You lost me then." She blinked. When, when you used my money and didn't say thank you. When you asked for help, but never asked how I was. When you let them call me little man and said nothing." She bit her lip. I didn't know what to do. "You could have said my name." Silence. Then I stood, walked to the door, opened it. She hesitated. "You're just going to walk away?" "No," I said. "I already did. Now I'm just closing the door." She stepped out, turned back once. "Will you ever come home?" I met her eyes. "I am home." And I closed it. No slam. No fury. Just a clean, final click. They thought this story would end in reconciliation. That I would soften. That the guilt would gnaw me back into the fold. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. Not because I needed revenge, but because I finally understood. They didn't lose a provider. They lost a person. And that absence was the loudest thing I'd ever given them.